Okay.
This will work much better now. You ended it, right? There we go. Do you want I can do the background if you want.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully this works better. All right. Alisa, can you hear me?
I can.
Yay! We love StreamYard. It's a long story, but the other streaming software we use, that's what we usually use, but we've never done people on it before. It's usually just me. StreamYard we use, but it was acting up for it this morning, so that's why we went with the other one. Anyway, we'll wait for Sam to join us. Let me just come over here. Okay. Okay. And there she is.
I'm here. Okay. I'm here. I'm here.
There you are. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Thank you both for bearing with us. Okay. All right. Well, first of all, Alisa, thank you so much for joining us. I am beyond humbled. I am so honored that you A, found us, and B, you made it into our chat, and now you want to come and tell your story. So thank you for joining us. And Sam, most people know you, but you are a licensed private investigator in Florida. Do you want to add anything to that before we launch into Alisa and her story?
I had the displeasure of working on Trevor's case as part of the defense. So I had his case, I think maybe for a year or two. I'm not sure how long. And ultimately he fired me. I was okay with that.
I'm sure. All right, we have a lot of questions. This just touches the iceberg. But Alisa, do you want to? How do you want this to go? Because this is all about you right now. How do you want to handle it?
However you guys, whatever you want to throw at me, I'm an open book.
Awesome. I like to hear that. All right. Well, let's start with jury selection because a lot of people were talking like, were you in the room? And then B, how did it work that it ended up being all male?
Okay. So the story behind the jury selection starts really back at kind of the beginning. When everything happened, Marcy's law had not been passed in Florida yet. But I knew very early on that I needed to seek justice. I knew I needed to be a big part of the criminal justice system. And there was no victims law in Florida to basically support me. So in the beginning of this whole thing, after the aftermath and everything, I was really just trying to say, this is what I need. This is what I need. This is what I need. And then when Marcy's law got passed in 2018, it was like, no, this is seriously, this is the law. This is what I'm fighting for. And I'm going to do, what the law says are my rights. So one of the things of Marcy's law is I am allowed to be present at everything. Even if I am not need to be at that hearing, I need to be notified and I have the right to be present. So a couple weeks before the trial started, we had already gotten up to pre-trial several times and we never made it that far. We got to pre-trial and something would happen. So as soon as we got done pre-trial, I said, okay, what accommodations are there for jury selection for me? And Jennifer Johnson was like, we have never had a victim present in the room for jury selection. Yes, we'll have defendants because they're a party to the case. You are not a party to the case. The state, the prosecutor is the party to the case, but you are not. And I said, no, that's not what Marcy law says. I'm going to be in the room. And she says, Alisa, as much as I advocate for you, I don't know how that is going to be possible or happen. We may just put you in like a room and you can watch it. We'll just put you in like a separate room. And I go, no, I want to be in the room. So while I was waiting for her to get that decision to me, I started on the phone calling Marcy's Law, calling politicians, saying, I want these accommodations. Somebody needs to make it happen.
Mhm.
So at the same time, this is 3 weeks before trial, and a big thing happened 3 weeks before this trial.
Mhm.
DeSantis removed Andrew Warren. So that happened 3 weeks before the trial.
Okay.
And so now Andrew Warren, who he and I had butted heads multiple times,
Mhm.
he's removed, and it's Susie Lopez. And I was like, what? Who is this person? This is the first I'm hearing of all of this.
Right.
And so she, her office, and she was very accommodating for me. Jennifer Johnson got back to me and was like, we're going to make all the accommodations. We've never had this happen, but you can be in the room.
Wow.
So they
Wow.
assigned me 2 victim advocates, one from the court and
Mhm.
one from the domestic violence organization. So I had 2 advocates that went with me everywhere.
Mhm.
And one of the benefits of this was they were afraid, Trevor was going to pull things like jury tampering and all of that stuff. Well, here you have 2 witnesses who are, assigned by the court. One's assigned by the court, one's from the domestic violence, who never left my side. So
Mhm.
they had to make accommodations for them to be in the room too,
Mhm.
which I'm thankful that they were in the room. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Have that supporting system with you for sure.
yes. So we
Yeah.
were over in the back corner. The jurors came in. They brought in 60 jurors.
Mhm.
The parties to the case stood up. Again, I'm not a party, so I'm not up there. That doesn't matter if somebody knows me, but nobody did
Mhm.
know me.
Mhm.
And they asked if any of the jurors knew him, and nobody raised their hand. And then they read the charges.
Mhm.
Well, when they read those charges, you won't believe how many women's hands went up, of how many women could not sit on this jury.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And some of them shared from their seat of why they couldn't be on the jury. Some of them went up and talked to the judge. And then you
Mhm.
saw this huge amount of women leave the room.
Mhm.
So much so that they had to go back and pull for more jurors.
Mhm.
And I looked over at the advocates and I said, oh my gosh, we're not going to have women, are we?
Mhm.
And they were
Yeah.
like, probably not. And it happened the second round of jurors. The
Mhm.
same thing happened.
How
And
many
then
were they pulling in, if I may? How many jurors were they pulling in at a time? 50 or
60.
60? Okay. So you went through 2 rounds, so 120 roughly?
So they left the batch from the first round. There were 30 some left, and then
Okay.
they brought in some additional like 20 and some change.
Okay.
Then they did it again.
Mhm.
And then he had his 8 strikes.
Mhm.
So even after they dwindled it down, and then we approximately were at like 40 some jurors at the next go round.
Mhm.
Then they started really picking and asking questions of the jurors. And that's when then a lot of them were kind of cut loose and dismissed.
Mhm.
They also, which was strange, there was a lot of 20-something-year-olds when they got into the questioning,
Mhm.
20-something-year-olds raising their hands that they had experienced their parents' divorce and
Mhm.
that they did not feel that they could sit on the trial
Okay.
on this. So we
Right.
saw that happen a lot. But then he used his strikes for, I think it was only 3 women got pulled
Mhm.
from the numbers that were left, and he
Mhm.
used a strike on them.
Gotcha. Now, who was his attorney at that point? Because he had gone through 7, I think you said in our chat?
Yes.
Okay, so who was his attorney, if you remember? Who was representing him at that time?
Marchese.
Oh, was it? Okay, it was him.
Mhm.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. So, do you know anything about that backstory about why he went through 7? Were you a part of that, or was that something you want to
Yes,
just
I was
touch on
there.
that?
I
Yeah.
was there for all of them.
Okay.
So, public defender was put on right away,
Mhm.
and then he had a conflict of interest. So public defender was first.
Mhm.
Then he got a private attorney. Then declared indigency
Right.
because he never paid that private attorney and had no money.
Right.
And then he got a second private attorney and never paid that one, and that one got indigent as well.
Yeah.
Then he went back to the public defender, had a conflict of interest, and he was assigned to a different public defender in
Right.
the office.
Okay,
They
so
had
that's
to move him-
4. We're up to
Yeah,
4, right?
Yeah, they had to move him up. Sorry, the kids are walking around.
That's okay. Hey, kids, you're part of the story too.
So they had to move him up to the head of the public defender's office because none of the public defenders could deal with him.
Mhm.
Then he had a conflict of interest with the public defender's office. They moved him to regional counsel. He had
Mhm.
already had conflicts with regional counsel in other hearings.
Okay.
And then he got Marchese came from the list, court
Okay.
appointed private counsel.
Okay. Now, Sam, where do you jump in with all of this? With what Alisa just said, like where do you come in?
Marchese.
Okay, that's where you came in. So you didn't know anything about those other previous ones.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Remember, I work for the private defense attorneys who are on the JAC list. That's
Mhm.
how I am employed.
Okay.
Same as they have a contract with the JAC. I have a contract with the JAC. So I don't pick the cases. The lawyers ask me if I want a case, and I usually don't know anything about it. And I just say, yeah, of course, because I want to get paid.
Sure. You're handed the assignment and off you go.
Mhm.
Gotcha. All right. So, Alisa, you said there were 2 public and 2 private. So that's 4. Then where does Mark?
Oh, because he was a public defender's office, private, back
Yeah.
to the public defender's office. Then he was shuffled around at the public defender's office until
I gotcha.
finally they were like, nobody can handle him, conflict of interest.
Gotcha.
Then it went over to regional counsel, which I addressed the court and said he has conflict with regional counsel, but they
Mhm.
still had to go through the steps. And so that delayed us a whole nother month or so for it to come back. Regional counsel has conflict.
Gotcha. Yeah, a lot of our chat had followed Sarah Boone, and it's very similar in the sense that I don't know if you know her or have followed
Yeah.
her trial. Okay, so yeah, kind of similar,
Mhm.
just in that regard. But somebody asked about why it took so long. I think Tennis Girl asked why it took so long, and I think you're explaining why it took so long because there were all these conflict of interest, and he was just kept being bounced around lawyer to lawyer.
Right.
So I think that answers that question. All right, cool. Let's see. All right, we'll get into, okay. So how did this experience affect your life now following the trial? We're going to kind of jump around a little bit, but now that we kind of went for the jury selection, how have you managed to deal with this? I know you have a strong support system, and I know Jeff has been your rock, and we'll get to him in a moment. But how, if you could just briefly tell us, how have you been able to get past this? I mean, you seem so amazingly well adjusted. I'm just astounded. I was brought to tears during your impact statement, but please tell us how you have managed to get past this.
Yeah, I mean, it really started right after I was found alive. I mean, it was therapy right away. It was, and I had 5.5 years to really do a lot of healing. And so then the trial was healing for me as well.
Yeah.
But then as soon as the trial ended, it was like, okay, now what do I do with myself? Because I've been so wrapped up in this trial and going to hearings constantly and dealing with the courts and all of this. So I did take, about a month or so of just completely just chill out.
Yeah.
And I said, I just binge watched and, caught up on who was covering the trial and things along those lines. And then it went back to life as normal, keep focusing on the kids. Therapeutic for me. I wrote a book.
Please tell us about that. Yeah, please tell us about that.
Trial, yes.
Yeah.
So it has been, a process. There's been times where I've had to put it down, do some more therapy, more healing, and to pick it back up. It has a lot of my inner thoughts of what I was experiencing going through the trial and also going through the kidnapping.
Okay.
So the 2 storylines are running parallel, and present day is the trial. And we then have flashbacks of that event happening in like real time. So
Nice.
It's going back and forth between the 2.
What is the name of your book?
It's titled Tied Up.
Tied Up. Okay. All right. Chat, go look for it.
It's not out yet.
Oh, that's a tease.
It's coming, finishing editing. I should
Okay.
have it back this week, and then it'll go out to the publishers.
Perfect. Now, will this be on Amazon, Goodreads? Where can we find it, do you think?
So I'm not planning on self-publishing,
Okay.
just because, I'm busy with the family, and that's a lot of marketing, and I'm not really one to try to market myself.
Sure.
I'm looking for a publisher for that.
Okay.
And then if I don't get a publisher, then I guess I will go self-publish, because a lot of people tell me watching the trial, especially women who went through some of the things that I went through,
Mhm.
they, said it really was helpful to them.
Mhm.
So I want the book not for myself, but for others as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Katie, let's go over to you. So, what was your role? Now that we've heard from Alisa a little bit, let's jump to you. And what was your role? When did you actually meet with Trevor? Did you meet with Alisa? Like, how did that work out?
So first I went and I met with Mr. Marchese in his office, and then he sent me on to the jail to meet with Trevor, which
Okay.
I did on more than one occasion. He gave me lists of things that he felt would prove his, not so much innocence, I guess, as like he didn't have the correct intent. He wanted there to be cameras where there were no cameras. He wanted there to be, oh my God, I fought it out with him so badly, because I'm like, no, Trevor, this does not exist for you. This did not happen. No, the helicopter did not do this. You know what I mean? It was like, I kept going and documenting things, and he'd get angrier and angrier every time I did.
Alisa, I'm sure you can speak to that, the shared experience. I saw the smile when
Oh, yes.
Sam said that. Yeah, I can only imagine what both of you went through. Sam, how many times did you meet with him, and for how long? Like 2 times, 3
Several
times?
hours. So it would be several hours at a time. And I'm trying to think back. It had to be at least 2, if not more. Because when I go to the jail and I see somebody, I go into a private room with them. So I'm just one-on-one with them, and I don't have the noise of the pod. I'm not through plexiglass or anything like that. So I was trying to think back. I think my case notes are filed away, but I would have gone for several hours at a time, because I remember him providing me with a lot of lists of stuff that he wanted proven, which I'm not here to, that's not my job. I'm a fact investigator. If there's a camera there, there's a camera there. If there's not, there's not.
Gotcha.
So I called Walgreens Regional. I talked to the Walgreens store. He talks about Randall Crosby not knowing anything about him. You can see, it was an exercise in frustration, I guess.
I'm sure. So Alisa, Little Miss is in our chat often, and I have your email and her email. If it's okay, I can connect
Yes,
you guys. Okay, cool.
please.
All right. Yeah, I have a long history in publishing as well, but that's for another story. This is not about me. This is about you. All right. Support system, Alisa. So who has been your biggest source of support? Family, friends, I'm sure both, but why don't you talk a little bit about that? Let's bring Jeff into the conversation.
Sure. Well, I met Jeff about 3 weeks before the kidnapping happened. So we did not really know each other well at all.
Okay.
We found out very quickly upon meeting that we were from the same hometown. We grew up. Yes.
Unbelievable.
It is one of those things where, I can't make this stuff up. Here, he went to high school next to me. We had tons of mutual friends. My mom and his mom lived 15 minutes away from each other. When everything was happening, my parents were up in Pennsylvania, where we're from, and Jeff was down here in Florida. And so I'm missing, and my parents get in contact with Jeff, and he knows way more than what my parents know up in Pennsylvania. My parents got on a flight, flew down, and here this guy that they had never even met is, being there for them as they're going through all of this. And as soon as, I got found alive, he was one of the, first phone calls that my parents made that, she's alive. And my brother is a huge support for me. He flew down. He's up in Pennsylvania, and he flew down. He was with me during the whole trial.
Okay.
Jeff was not allowed to be in the room, or my dad, because they were on Trevor's witness list.
Oh, okay.
Since they were under subpoena, they couldn't be in the room until Trevor released them. So that's why my brother flew down.
Okay. I saw a gentleman sitting next to you, and I'm like, you two look so much alike. That has to be a brother. And people are like, no, that's her husband. I'm like, no, because I'm gonna be honest, transparency here. I did go to your Facebook page, and
Yes.
I saw the family, and I saw Jeff. I'm like, no, that's not. I don't think that's him. But you guys, your eyes, and I'm like, that has to be your brother. So thank you for confirming that. And then when I did see Jeff, I was like, Jeff, that's Jeff. That's Jeff.
Yeah.
That's husband. So yes, thank you for letting us know that. So obviously Jeff is huge. Your parents are huge. What about like through any kind of organizations, church, or anything like that? I know you mentioned that, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So the church that I was attending when I left Trevor, a deacon and his wife had taken me in when I left with the kids, when I was leaving Trevor, and they just supported me. This church came around me and loved on me, and Trevor really tried to manipulate them, and they were by my side through all of it. This church the pastor was with my parents the whole time. When I was missing, when I was found alive, they had my parents and my pastor in a separate room. And they, after questioning with me, they took me in to them. And so huge support from them. Support from the Spring of Tampa Bay, the domestic violence organization.
Mm-hmm.
I did go into shelter when I had left Trevor. I first went to the deacon's house. And then we realized how just unsafe it was for me. That together with the church, I went into shelter to get resources into the shelter, and just to have that documentation, like, I'm really scared of this man. I need protecting, and I just can't be out on my own with him.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And it's weird that you say, not weird, but I'm trying to envision, and again, if we get too personal, just give me a high sign. Like you say that Trevor was just manipulating everybody and everybody in your life. Like how, physically did he do that when you're talking to a pastor? Like how did he know to go to that person to manipulate them?
I say it's kind of like that Jerry Maguire moment. Like I'm leaving him, and he called like everybody, where I just wanted to kind of lay low. I didn't want to involve the kids. I didn't want to involve friends. I didn't want to involve all these different people. It was just like, let me just move on and live my life. And he just instead created this whole big campaign against me. And then because he created this whole big campaign against me, he manipulated things and convinced people that they had always seen this in me, or they had always seen that I was, unstable, when it was just him convincing all these people of these different things.
Wow. Okay. I can understand that. We have a question that I wanted to pull up. Okay. From Mookie asks, what did you think when you found out Trevor would be crossing? Yeah, that's a big one. When you found out that he was going to leave Marchese, thank you. And then you obviously were going to be cross-examined by him. Like what was going through your mind, and just what were you feeling at that point?
So he had gone pro se in the April before the trial, but I had always told Jennifer Johnson from the beginning that Trevor would represent himself. And she said, no, he's not that stupid. And I said, no, he really thinks that highly of himself.
Yeah.
He will be the type to represent himself. So I had already prepared myself for that. Because he represented himself in April. I prepared myself, then when he did for that. But what a lot of people don't know is that I was forced into a dependency case after I was found alive. And I had to go into that dependency case and sit at the same table as Trevor Summers for the dependency case and the termination of his parental rights. So that is what really, really prepared me for him to cross-examine me. I mean, the
Yeah.
proximity that I was to him during this case was nothing compared to that.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I love the fact that you didn't look at him. Were you looking at the jury then? I'm assuming you were looking at the jury, right? Okay.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
And then there was a
Yeah.
little metal plate that was on the wall, like where you would see a light switch, but it wasn't a switch. It was just a plate there.
Right. And you were focusing on that. I love it. Yeah, we definitely caught that for sure. All right, Katie, let's see. How do you feel about the way the legal system handles cases of this nature? Katie, what do you think about that?
Well, it's like any other of the cases, you know. He's presumed innocent until proven guilty. It's the way the system works.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily. Okay, I don't agree with a lot of what my clients, what they say, what they do. I'm not pro anything, right? I'm not
Mhm.
with.
You have to be
With-
neutral, right? You
Yeah,
have to be
I have to.
neutral, or
Well, I have to try to prove my, approach my job neutrally. But
Right.
then I thought he was going way too far by doing what he did to Alisa.
Mhm.
And that was just disgusting. It didn't surprise me, but I would have just been like, man, you should not do that. But after having read everything and knowing everything that, seeing everything, all the stuff that I had taken in and the hours I spent with him, I knew he thought more of himself than anybody else,
Yeah.
It floors me sometimes that people will put others through a trial when you know what the outcome is going to be. And I just think that's not, that's not necessary. I don't have a lot of respect for that. And I thought what he was doing was exceptionally petty and cruel and vengeful. And I just thought, well, she got the last laugh because you're spending the rest of your life in prison,
Yeah.
and she's gone on to live a happy ever after. So
Yeah, that's a great point, Sam. So, Alisa, what did you think then that your kids would be involved in testifying? How did you feel about that and react? And what did you do to prepare them for that?
That was really hard. When Arden turned 18, I told her, you have the same rights under Marcy's law as I do. So now that you're 18, if you want to go to any of the hearings, you can. And
Mhm.
she decided that she was going to do that would help her prepare for the trial. And so she went. She saw when he was pro se. She was, it was very hard for her to be in the same room with him. I knew it was going to be harder for her than Bryn. And so she had really prepared ahead of time. And then Bryn, it was really Jennifer Johnson did the job of preparing her ahead of time as well. Because I really didn't. I didn't want to influence the kids or anything like that. And I wanted her to be prepared. And so Jennifer Johnson did a great job with her. With
Yeah.
Arden, her therapist did really good. All the kids' therapists did really good preparing them as well.
Yeah, great. And when your little guy got up for us today, they gave his little impact statement. That was just Mr. Summers. Yeah. So the kids still, so they're holding on to Dad's last name. Then is there any talk about that to change their names or no?
So before the
just struck me.
trial, yeah,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
before the trial, we had filed for Jeff to adopt the kids and their last names to change. But then COVID hit, and then it just kind of fell out of the court system. It was released with failure to prosecute, I guess it was. We didn't have an attorney at the time and all that. So we've talked about it. And so, yeah, their legal last name is Summers, but they go by Mathewson for everything. But yeah.
Sure. And I also found it interesting that your two daughters did not say Trevor, or I'm sorry, did not say Dad. They said Trevor this, Trevor that. Was that a conscious decision, or that's just the way they felt? I think you said in chat that they considered Jeff Dad, right?
Yes.
So it would be really awkward for them to say, Dad did this, Dad did that. They'd be talking about Jeff. So that's why, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Chad, if you have some questions, which I know you do, I know Aaron's, you want to pull up a few? Or
I have a question for Sam.
Oh, sure.
Somebody else was asking about the offshore bank accounts. Does Sam know anything about that?
They didn't exist.
They did not exist. That was a hot topic in our chat for
He
sure.
made that up. The money, all that stuff was all of it was a lie.
Yeah. And the boat,
If he
right?
was
Wasn't there?
talking, he was lying.
Yeah. As soon as he opened up his mouth, a lie.
So I had reasons to believe that he had offshore bank accounts, and there were two reasons, and I wasn't allowed to talk about them in because we had a bunch of rulings leading up to it. I forget what they call that, where you can't talk about certain things. And since I was there for every hearing, I knew what things could not be talked or touched upon. The offshore bank accounts, the two reasons why I could not talk at length about those was, and why I thought he had it, was because the federal case for fraud would have been one reason. You're being, that you embezzled money and have fraud and all this other stuff. And two was because he was taken off of an airplane by air marshals flying back into the country from the Bahamas.
Okay.
So if you are leaving the country on a flagged passport and they catch you flying back into the country and they know that, why should we have him extradited? He's flying back in, just have air marshals ready. And he was arrested flying back into the country from Bahamas. So I'm like, if you're going to risk that with a flagged passport, then it must be something worth a lot of money for you to go take care of.
Right.
So that's why I thought there was offshore.
Well, if he was under indictment by a federal grand jury to begin with, he shouldn't have left the country. So I found no evidence of there actually being an offshore account of any kind. He had no money. His federal case, you could go into the records at Pacer and find it. I never bothered because I didn't care, to be honest with you. But I did not see any indication whatsoever that he had a dime anywhere.
Alisa, this came up in our chat. What did Trevor do what was his profession? What did he do to make whatever money he did make?
So he claims he was an entrepreneur. He started a business, got bored, moved on to another business. I was, busy with 5 kids and homeschooling, and he didn't tell me anything. And if I ever asked anything, it was not met well by me questioning him ever.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Fair enough. 2 questions. The one that's on the screen from Jeannie. Sam, how long were you on the case?
I think somewhere between a year and 2. And
Okay.
I'm honestly not sure. And I know it sounds like a really long time to people that I'm on cases for that long, but it actually, like, for me, goes by really quickly. Like I've mentioned before, I've got one guy who's been sitting waiting for his death penalty trial for 6 years now. So, I see them every so often. Because the way the circuit here works is they do of course the word just flew right out of my head. Every 3 months we do a status hearing, and it's just a check-in. Like, okay, do you guys have your depositions going? Do you have your experts going? What's happening? Where are we? That sort of thing. So then also we had COVID shut the system down like completely. And then, of course, the courts shut down for hurricanes, like everything else. So stuff gets pushed back. And I'm sure for the victims, it seems like it's taking forever. Some of us working on it, sometimes it seems like forever, but other times it feels like it's going fast because you can't get to everything everybody wants all at once.
Right. All right. Question from Tennis Girl for Alisa. You were calm on the inside. Oh, no. Were you as calm on the inside as you seemed during testimony? And Tennis Girl's in awe at how you handled the freaks questioning. Yes, you came across as very, very calm. You got, you were pushing back. We appreciated your snark when it was appropriate, of course. So were you as calm as you were on the inside as you were on the outside?
Yeah, yes-ish. But I see, like, when I go back and watch it, I see me transition from being kind of really, like, afraid at first, not sure of how I was going to react, how it was gonna go,
Mhm.
to then for the majority of it being, calm, okay, and then it's like I got my voice more and more, and I just started, like, slapping him upside the head with the things I was saying.
I love it.
But then one of the advocates had to, like, calm me down on the day that he called me back up on the stand because it was like I was boiling with anger inside towards him. And it was like, you gotta calm it back down, Alisa, bring it back down.
Right. All right, here's another question for you. Can you explain how you being kidnapped turned into unsupervision of children and them being removed from your custody? Yeah, how did that?
Yeah,
How was,
Hillsborough County for
yeah,
you. I
wow.
mean,
Yeah.
really it's the state of Florida. You look at, if you look at what happened with Take Care of Maya,
Mhm.
and it's amazing though how many people have lost their children in the state of Florida for absolute no reason at all.
Yeah.
And it's a huge problem with DCF in Florida.
Mhm.
So what happened was because after the Walgreens incident happened, the police went to Trevor's house and my house. They found the children alone at Trevor's house. They have no idea. They can't contact the parents. There's no
Mhm.
supervision of these kids. And his parents lived in Apollo Beach, so a couple minutes away. He always moved his parents. Wherever he moved us, he moved his parents.
Mhm.
So his parents
Interesting.
were contacted, and then the state took custody of the children on Monday morning before I was found.
Mhm.
They granted custody to his parents. And then when I'm found alive, the first question is, where are my kids? And
Right.
they said, well, we need you to help us with evidence. We have to get you medical attention. We got to go to the crisis center. We got to do all these things with you. The kids are just fine. The kids are fine. I had no idea that the state had taken custody of my kids at this point. The following day, I was notified that I had to go to court. And I was like, okay, go to court. And that's when I was informed at the courthouse in front of Judge Peacock that my children were in state custody, and I would have to do a case plan, and I would have to fight to get my children back.
And where were they?
They were with Trevor's parents.
Oh, okay, they were. Okay. All
And
right.
then my parents fought to try to get them, and they would not grant it to my parents, saying my parents were out of state residents.
Mhm.
My pastor tried to get them. My friends tried to get them. And because of the severe parental alienation, the kids, the older two, were not willing to go to anyone associated with me.
Wow.
So what ended up happening was his parents were deemed unfit. The children were moved to one of his friends, Trevor's friends' homes. And then from there, they were really monitored of what was being communicated with the children. The children were starting to get more therapy and more things. And then the little three kids were brought back to me after I completed everything the state had said. Because I did not no contest because that was the fastest way to get my kids home. If
Right.
I had said I'm not guilty of unsupervising my kids, inadequate supervision, I'm not guilty of this,
Right.
I would have had to wait for a trial.
Mhm.
So no contest was the fastest way to get my kids home, and I did no
Sure.
contest. Got the three little ones home within 4 months it took, and they were like,
Okay.
record timing, Alisa.
Not bad, but I'm sure that felt like a lifetime for you.
It really did, but it gave me
Yeah,
time to really focus on my healing, therapy, getting
that's
all
true.
those things in place. I
Right.
had to go through a bunch of psych evals to show, that I wasn't a risk to the kids and all that.
Sure.
But the
Yeah.
real thing that benefited the state was the gag order. By
Mhm.
putting that charge on me, they were able to gag order me
Mhm.
to stop me from saying how bad this whole case leading up to the kidnapping went.
Mhm. Gotcha. Fair enough. You want to go ahead? Okay.
We'll just do it.
Aaron has some questions. Aaron is
No,
the
no.
Wizard of
I
Aaron.
don't have questions.
No, I know. You're going to pull them up. She's the wonder behind the mask over there. Okay, Mandy Strong. How long did it take to end Trevor's parental rights after sentencing? Asking for Brian Boone.
Well, the good news of that is his parental rights were terminated before sentencing. It happened about a year after the kidnapping happened.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, because he should not be allowed to have any, come anywhere near your children, such as it is. Let's see. Sam, what advice would you give to victims who are considering coming forward? So I know, Alisa, you seem like a very strong individual, and it doesn't seem like you had a problem per se coming forward, but there are a lot of women, sister survivors, as you call them, or survivor sisters. Sam, what would you say to those people that want to come forward but might feel intimidated or just, yeah?
My advice to anyone that would call the law office where I worked and they were saying, so and so is doing this to me and this is happening to me, was to document everything you possibly can. I've not been in that position, but the more you can document, I felt like that also would sort of give them something to focus on. It's like, I don't know, just like a little something. Okay, I can note this down somewhere, like in my phone, or write something down. But, definitely seek out resources. And the scariest time for a woman is right when she's ready to leave. As I think we know from, watching all the Boone stuff. So, definitely don't do anything to put yourself in danger. But if you've got a husband who's maybe not actually hitting you or actually like physically hurting you, but is doing manipulative things, my advice is always just to document that. And really for anybody who's doing that to you,
Yeah, Alisa, I have in my notes, I can't find them right now, but you were basically saying you were just saying yes to Trevor. You were, when you were going through this process, of those 2 days, you were just trying to appease him and say yes and go along because you were trying to find your escape. You weren't resisting him, in other words.
No.
Is that, yeah? Because that would be the last thing that you would want to do, right?
Right.
Because to Sam's point, that would, who knows what that person would do, You're already in a situation you do not want to be in, and then you aggravate that by resisting. Fair enough. You want to pull up another? All right,
he said that by Alisa not resisting meant that she was happy to be there with him.
Complying, yeah, consensual.
Yeah, that she was consenting to all of it. And then he also would say that you had like OnStar or something in your car, right? But you didn't have it on. Like you have to have that subscription to be live for them to track the car. And he's like, well, they could have tracked me if it was a big deal. They could have tracked me through OnStar. Like, no, because the OnStar, sorry if it wasn't OnStar.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, the OnStar has to be not just subscribed to, but why are words just flying right out of my head?
Okay, activated.
Thank you, activated.
Yeah,
activated.
Yeah.
He would just come up with stuff like that to say, well, that she could have. Why didn't she just use the OnStar?
Right.
He
also said at one point, between 6 and 10, you're driving on major roads. She could have very easily just, waved down a motorist your hands were tied, right? Your hands were tied behind your back. I mean, are you kidding? And I don't remember if it was Jessica or Jennifer who said he let himself in at whatever, 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night. That's not a welcome. That's not you opening up the door and say, come on in and let's wrestle. It's like, again, what this person was thinking. I'm not even going to say man, but what this person was thinking just boggles the mind. All right, chat. We'll get to
justify things. Just it was mind blowing.
Yeah.
And then so go to this place and get this. My parents have this. Alisa did this. Walgreens did this. And you go to locate or find those things, and none of them exist.
Yeah.
That was nobody has that information. He's just making this all up to show he's right, and he's not. He's anything but.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's see. Let me get to some questions here. Lucy, snakes will hiss. Alisa is a heroine. Yes, you are. You are an amazing woman. I'm sure you saw the blue hearts in the chat.
I did. That was so nice.
No problem. Sinbad 333. Who hasn't been fired by Trevor?
The best, I mean, I felt bad for Mr. Marchese. I really did. But I would check in on the docket on the case, and I was seeing motions between, they were both filing to fire each other. They wanted off the one thing they could agree upon was that they didn't want each other. And the court just would, I can't remember. I don't remember. Alisa probably does. Was Sabella always the judge, or was he just the trial judge? They moved it to him for trial. Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I was like, I know it wasn't Sabella that was saying, no, we're not letting Marchese come off, you know, but I was, oh my God, that was comic relief for sure.
4 judges.
Oh my God.
Geez, seven lawyers and 4 judges. Are you kidding? Oh my gosh. So what were the reasons that those other 2 or 3 judges were off the case?
So Kaiser was the first judge. He was on it for a long time.
Yeah, I remember. I remember him being there.
Then we got Fuson, who was leading up to it. Before him, though, we had a woman judge for like, I don't know, maybe a month or 2. She did maybe 2 statuses via Zoom during COVID time, and then she was just like, I'm pushing this over to, like she was just like, I'm not taking this anymore, and she pushed it over because
she didn't give a reason? Are judges?
I don't know what the reason was, but it was only with her for like 2 status hearings, and it was during COVID time. And I don't know if she got moved departments or moved within somewhere, but she was just like, I'm not.
Judges do get cycled in and out of criminal, which sucks for those of us who work inside the criminal system, because the civil judges do not understand the way criminal trials work. And it can be very difficult for the lawyers. And also with it being COVID, you know, they were struggling to keep anything going at all. Yeah. So, and then it will often be that they start out in a felony division and then they're moved to a trial division as it gets closer to trial. And Sabella is now our chief judge.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Sam, I have 2 questions. Traveling Teresa, do PIs not have confidentiality agreements on cases? Are you allowed to speak about cases freely afterwards? And then also Jay Davis, who did testify, was a PI. Did you know Jay Davis? So
no,
2 questions.
I did not know. Did not know Jay Davis. He was of Trevor's choosing.
Okay.
After Trevor did not like the fact that I was not agreeing with him.
Okay.
And so, yes, I am subject to attorney-client privilege. I do not talk about the case while the case is ongoing. Trevor has been adjudicated guilty. I can talk about the case. You know, there's nothing that could not be obtained by public record searches now. You know, I mean, you just streamed the entire trial. Right. So there may be little details here and there. I don't know anything that I have not already seen in the public.
Okay. Alisa, I have a question for you. Now, you know, you're looking back, do you see the warning signs? Like, you were married for 16 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
Like so year 1 or 2, now that you have this hindsight, do you look back and say, because I know I've been in relationships and I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, I knew it then. And I just kind of, sloughed it off. But do you have, can you speak to that? Like, were there warning signs and
yes. Yeah. So looking back, there are some pivotal times that I say, gosh, I could have left right then and there. But the scariness is you're under such control and manipulation from this person. You cannot see reality. You do not, it's not until you leave and you are that don't have that person controlling and influencing you that you start to really see things. Like, I'm still not surprised when I find out something about Trevor that I never knew, because
Yeah.
I find out things all the time. I found out he was, arrested 13 times during our marriage. I found out that he owed all this money to the IRS. I found out all of these things like after the fact. The first time I filed taxes on my own, that's when I found out about the IRS thing. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to file for innocent spouse. I had to go through all of these different things. And I said, I still to this day, I had somebody reach out to me on like Instagram, and they owned a business next to one of Trevor's businesses, and
Mm-hmm.
how difficult it was for them to deal with him. And I'm like, I am so sorry. I never knew any of this.
I think there was a second person involved in the federal fraud situation, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. I
Yes.
think he was not in there alone.
Mhm.
But if they've got an indictment against you, because I do federal court defense fraud cases, all the financial stuff, you are guilty. They win 99% of their cases. I mean, you're just done.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep. And back to when Sam was saying about confidentiality, this is the
Mhm.
first that Sam and I have I've ever known about Sam, because that, like, I didn't have privilege to any of that.
Right. How did you find our channel, if I may ask?
Oh, I don't know. I think it was just, just with Thanksgiving, I was off and I was
Mhm.
like, I pulled up YouTube, and it, for whatever reason, sometimes it pulls up things that are linked to me or Trevor as things that
Mhm.
I might want to watch.
Yeah.
And I saw that you'd done the trial, and it was only like a few days ago.
Mhm.
And then I went to your channel, and then I was like, oh, they have a live stream going on tomorrow. Okay,
Mhm.
I'll see what.
Yeah, cool. Well, trust me, when I saw your name pop up at first, I'm like, is this real? And then I went to your channel. I'm like, oh, it looks like it is real. And then Aaron reached out to you. And again, we are so blessed and so thankful and grateful that you are with us today to tell us about your experience. Let's see. So let's see. General question for both. Sam, why don't you tackle this one first, and then Alisa, you can come in after that. What do you think is the biggest misunderstanding about DV that needs to be addressed? Sam, what do you think about that? Or do you want to think about that, and then we'll let Alisa take that, or do you need a moment?
I'm gonna let Alisa take that, and I'll think on
Okay.
it for a
We'll get
moment.
back to you. Okay, so the biggest misunderstandings.
Why doesn't she leave is the question that everybody
Yeah.
wants to know. And this is my
Mhm.
answer to it. I actually have two answers to this, because if
Okay.
Marchese had cross-examined me, I was going to hit him with this one.
Mhm.
So the one I was going to hit Marchese with was in the courtroom to say, okay, do you feel safe in this courtroom? There's bailiffs, there's the judge, there's everybody here watching in this courtroom. But what if I were to tell you that there's a man on the other side of that door who will want to murder you if you leave this room?
Mhm.
And the judge here, Sabella's going to give you a piece of paper to say, hey, man out in the hallway, do not attack him. I probably wouldn't have been able to go into this ramble anyway. But
Yeah.
my thoughts in my head were to say, hey, we're going to give you a piece of paper that tells that man not to murder you out in that hallway. Are you going to go out in that hallway? And said, okay, how about you have 5 small children with you, and we're going to give you the piece of paper and send you out there with 5 small children who you love and adore and are the most important things in your life. And we're going to send you out in that hallway where nobody's watching. There's no bailiff. There's nobody there. And we're going to send you with a piece of paper. Why won't you leave the room?
Yeah.
The other thing that I really thought about why doesn't she leave is, okay, we're going to put this mountain in front of you. We're going to tell you to climb this mountain, financial, where are you going to live, all of the logistics things, your safety, get a job, educate your children, all these things. And we're going to put 5 kids on your back and tell you got to climb up this mountain of all this logistical things. And then we want to know, why didn't you do it?
Yeah. Yeah. We get that question a lot in these DV cases, like, why didn't you just leave? And it's for men too. It's not just women, like with poor Jorge with Sarah Boone, like, why didn't you just leave? And I think a lot of it is, you're right. It's like the devil, you'd rather stay in that, even though it might be abusive. It's financially you can't escape. Maybe, physically you just need somebody there to help you. emotionally, a lot of it mentally, you're just not prepared to be away from that person, so I totally agree with you on that. Sam, what do you think? What are some
Well, I
some
think
thoughts?
I want to say that I don't believe Mr. Marchese would have called you as a witness. That was a Trevor thing, because defense attorneys, I know we all don't like defense attorneys, but they're not intentionally cruel, and I don't think he would have done that.
Although he was intentionally cruel when he cross-examining your son there when after he gave that impact statement. I thought that was
That
pretty
was,
low.
yeah, that was
That was pretty low. It's
over the
like,
top.
come on.
I agree. I don't think that was the greatest look, but again, I think he's just trying to, everybody, it's CYA, cover your, what, because there's going to be an appellate court or an appellate attorney looking for something to overturn this on. And yeah, it was unnecessary, Pammy. I kind of felt like it was out of character for him, but I think that one of the biggest misunderstandings, from at least from an outsider's perspective looking in, is the financial situation. A lot of people don't realize how controlled they are, how the husband or the significant other is controlling the money. And by controlling the money, then it's not just that it's not safe, like physically to leave. It's like, how do I pay for leaving as
Absolutely.
well? And I get a lot of inquiries like, can you find out if my husband can you find out how much money he's making? Can you find his accounts? Can you find these things that I think belong to him? Because he's lying to the court in order not to pay me child support or for whatever reason. So I get a lot of inquiries about that.
Right. That's a great point. And Alisa, we'll go back to you on that. When you were raising your children, did you have to ask Trevor for money? Did you have joint accounts? Did you have access to that, or it all went through him?
Everything went through him. And it was like, it wasn't like that on day one. It's this slow conditioning of, oh, I'm going to take this off your plate. I'm going to pay the bills. I'm going to take care of all of this.
Right.
And then he would I would have a card that would have like a couple $100 limit on it that I could go get groceries, and that would be it.
Right. No, I totally understand it. You come into the relationship, whatever you come in with it, but over time, it's like, no, you have this to worry about. Let me deal with that. Let me take that off your plate. Let me do it, honey. All that. And eventually, 2 years, 5 years go by, and you literally have no control anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I get it. All right. Therapist, I like this one. Did Marchese know that Trevor was going to call you, Alisa, that he would go pro se just to cross? Did you, well, how would we know that Marchese would have done that? But I'll throw it out to you. What do you guys think? Alisa, did you have any inkling that Trevor was going to do that? That he was?
I agree with Sam. I don't think Marchese would have called me. Like, he's going to cross-examine me. He's going to CYA, to go over and try to poke holes in the things that Jennifer was, questioning me on. But I don't think he was really going to.
As a defense strategy, it was a horrible one.
Right.
That was strictly a Trevor to Alisa thing. There is no defense attorney that I'm aware of, or me, if I was practicing, I would never call her. That's just a terrible, terrible decision. That was punitive by Trevor. And like I said, Marchese tried to get off the case. You can go back and you can go into the docket and read all of the motions, because he was just losing his mind trying to get off the case, and he couldn't. And I had actually was off the case because I got fired by Trevor, and I had gone over to the East Coast of Florida, and I was scrolling through YouTube one day, and I actually saw that he was that the trial was on, and that he was questioning Alisa, and I thought, why am I not surprised by this? And I am so sorry that she's having to go through that. That was just.
Right. Ozzy says it takes 7 attempts, average 7 attempts to leave. Is that valid? I haven't heard that before. But
that is correct. Yeah. Yeah, statistically, and each time a woman tries to leave her abuser, he gets stronger. So I'm sure it pertains to men as well who are trying to leave a narcissist. A narcissist, they learn from each attempt to leave. And so each time you try to get away from them, they're going to correct themselves for the next time.
All right. Legal-minded friends Karen Cole, who practices in England, says, and we are not allowed to ask in court, why didn't you leave? Is that the same here in the States? Are the lawyers allowed to ask?
I mean, lawyers could ask anything they want. Doesn't mean it's going to be answered.
That's
You
true.
know, and you typically, I mean, you don't want to put a sympathetic victim on the stand.
Right. Jules is one of our mods, and she was with us at the Sarah Boone trial, and she will be with us for the sentencing, as well as Ashley Benefield. There are many reasons why you don't leave. Yes, there are, and we touched upon, I think, the majority of them. Let's see. Here's a question from Shore Life Creations for Alisa. Do you think that maybe one day your son might want to see his dad? And we'll throw that out to all of your kids. He's very young right now, and he might want to talk to him one day. Will you support him on that? That's a good question. What do you think?
Based on the court decisions in other cases, I cannot support. So I have minor kids still in the home. So if any of my kids, older children, were going to see their dad, I would have to protect my younger ones, and they are not to have any contact with anyone associated with Trevor. So, and I feel that I've kind of set those boundaries, and I would continue that on even after my kids are adults. To say, I need to protect myself. It needs to be a boundary that if you're in contact with him, it's not okay for me.
Well, we know where they would be going to see him. It's not like they're going to be going to the park. We know he's going to be in prison, so at least we know that. And your older daughters, Arden, she doesn't want to have anything. Yeah. And Bryn, she's not 18, but she doesn't have any desire. Yeah.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
And he did get denied for his appeal. So he did file an appeal directly after this trial. And I was notified by the appeal court a few months back that he was denied his appeal. They informed me that he can go for a second time to the appeal. The same second DACA is where his appeal is, that he can go a second time.
Yes.
And then
It's the Second District Court of Appeals, and knowing what the little that I know of Trevor, you can expect that he will continue to file appeals until a court orders him not to, that he's exhausted every right. Once they're in prison, like in the Florida DOC, it's common for the convicted to file everything they can think of. And I saw Mandy Strong saying in the chat that Marchese fought to stay on the case once it was in trial. I didn't watch that part of it, but one of the appeals is for ineffective assistance of counsel. So then that comes back on Marchese. So it could have been that he I don't know, when we're in law school, they teach us all the rules of professional conduct. They are not all sitting at the top of my head anymore. But actions taken by Mr. Marchese may have been to protect himself, which is to try to avoid, a 5830, which Trevor will file one regardless. But I see a lot in chats, people are saying, why are they doing this? Or that's stupid, or how horrible, or whatever. And it's just why Trevor had to move for a directed verdict. It's part of the steps, it's like you're just checking off the boxes as you go, and it's part of the process. Does it ever get anywhere? Rarely, but it's just something that everybody does.
All right, we have a few people that have asked this question. How has he still been bothering you, and has he faced any consequences?
So when he was in the jail, they had to restrict his phone privileges and his writing privileges while he was in the jail, because he continually would write letters to other people outside, and then try to get other people to find us. One of the things during the trial, he wanted my address to subpoena me. I fight really hard for him to not know where I am, but he continually tries. He got a hold of Arden's phone number somehow from the prison and tried to call and contact Arden from the prison. I had to call, he's in Okeechobee State Prison, and I've had to call down there and, basically fight with them to restrict him down there. But the jail, when he was waiting trial, was really good at monitoring him because he continued to have stuff slip through that they would have to take his privileges away. When he would go pro se, though, they had to give him those privileges back because he was pro se.
Gotcha.
So then we would have problems where he was writing all these letters and they would get out, and then we'd give them to the prosecutor, and then it would basically be like another thing. But it was a slap on the wrist because what are we going to do? We can't do anything. He's pro se. We can't take away these privileges, and these letters just keep him getting out.
Right. I would think that would almost, I know you wouldn't want to receive those. I get that. But then you could also use that against him, because if he's saying things, you could use that in the court, in the court against him. I know you probably maybe not have been thinking about that, but now in hindsight, it's like, ooh, you could have maybe used those letters and say, see, this is just continual harassment on his part, But
right. And what are they going to do? Add more time to his sentence? They're not.
another life sentence? Sure, why not? Sam, we have a question for you. Were there any surprises that you found? Any surprise findings? Was there anything that surprised you?
Me?
Yes.
On working on his stuff?
Yeah. Or was it just like
He was so diabolical. His manipulation of the children to do what he did that night, and he tried to deny it. And you can see on the doorbell cameras, like things hanging off of him as he's walking, and you see the kids drive by in the car, and he can try to spin anything. I forget all the crap he would tell me. Oh, it wasn't this, it wasn't that, whatever. And
he was saying that that was his closing argument, is the evidence that you're seeing doesn't support the fact that it happened.
Yeah.
It was consensual, even though I snuck in through the window.
Yeah, it was constantly like that. Yeah. Oh, it was fine. She knew how to drive, but just stupid stuff like that.
Okay, my next question, follow-up, is, was there any evidence that you found that did not come into the trial that you know of?
I told you honestly that I hadn't watched the trial because I didn't like Trevor very much. He really kind of gave me the ick.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, no. I mean, I saw all of the defense discovery. What I watched today, because I told you I would. Before we knew Alisa was going to be here, we were going to talk about the case. I remember the evidence. I remember the discovery, and I watched today to hear the closing arguments. To my knowledge, no, nothing came in that I was not aware of already.
Right. Alisa, then to you, was there anything that happened that did not come in to the trial?
I can't think of anything, but I continued throughout the trial to tell the victim advocate, does Jennifer Johnson not realize that she has not shown this video? She keeps talking about the video. When is she going to show it?
Didn't show that. Did she not show the video?
She did at the end. It was
the neighborhood video,
the video that Trevor made on my phone.
Okay, yeah.
We waited till the end, and we kept talking about this video, and she kept asking me about the video, and the video kept coming up, and we were like, when is she going to show it?
Play it. Oh my gosh.
She played it at the end. But she did that. She saved it right at the end.
Okay.
Yep. Let's see. I took notes on that. Shoot, what was it? Oh, it shows video confessing. Yeah, okay. That was the first thing she showed when she said, "This is Trevor Summers in a nutshell." She shows
that was the closing. Yeah, the closing arguments.
Her rebuttal. It was her rebuttal. She said, shows video confessing about being manipulative, and she's like, "That jury, a gentleman of the jury, that is Trevor Summers in a nutshell." So,
yeah, I thought it would have came in earlier.
Well, I mean, it worked. Yeah. It worked to your advantage, the way in which she used it. It was such an odd thing. It was like, so see, she's standing right there. She's a part of this. I'm not holding her, hostage or anything like that. It was just on and on and on.
Right. Let's see. Let's see. Guys, if you have any more questions, I think we maybe, I don't know, do you guys have any questions for each other? Sam, do you have any questions for Alisa? And Alisa, any questions?
Cooper just came in the room. Cooper, do you want to say hi?
Oh, hey, Cooper.
There's
How you doing? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Love you.
Take care of your mom. Love your mom. She's a wonderful woman. He's like, yeah, whatever. Let's see. I think, all right, I've gone through everything that I've had. Let's see, chat, anything else?
Oh, I had one other thing. I have gotten to see Sabella since the case. I did run into him.
Okay.
So I did a press conference with Ashley Moody.
Oh.
And she was doing an initiative and wanted a domestic violence survivor to talk at this press conference. So her office reached out to me like the day before and was like, is there any chance she's going to come to Tampa to push this initiative? Can you be there? And I was like, yes, I will be there. And Sabella was there, and I spoke at the press conference, about the challenges of domestic violence, and that her initiative to give Ring doorbell cameras to victims would, allow to help.
I'll tell you what, the Ring doorbell footage is something that has yet to sink in to people who are out committing crimes on the street. I've got a lot of breaking into cars, right? And some of those cameras are just clear as day, and it's not dawned on anybody yet that they are catching them in the act, and they're a great tool for sure.
Well, Sam, you were the one that coined it in our chat, the Walmart murder aisle.
Yeah,
because
don't go shopping at the murder aisle.
Or if you're being chased by somebody, go to Walmart, because their video cameras are the best.
Cameras at the checkout. So, I can't tell you how many trials I have watched, and you see that somebody has bought before pre-incident supplies or post-incident supplies in the murder aisle at Walmart. And it's the stupidest thing for them to do, but it's the best thing for the prosecution, because Walmart's got fantastic video.
Right.
Really, really clear. And
That's good to know. Alisa, a question for you from Ozzy. Did you get any input in the case? I think we kind of touched upon that a little bit, but do you want to just kind of go over that again, or what input did you have?
So when he was offered a plea deal, they called me and they said, we're going to offer him a plea deal of 40 years. And I said, well, I'm not happy with that. He's not going to, but he's not going to admit fault, and he's not going to accept a plea deal. So go ahead.
Yeah.
So that input I had, but then I really pushed for a lot of that victim advocacy for myself, of wanting to be present, that I thought this was therapeutic for me as a victim to be, in the room. And so I did address the courts a few times leading up to it, and then did the victim impact statement. But other than that, victims really do not get to have input.
Right. And that's kind of sad in a way, right? It seems like you're getting ready for dinner, so we won't hold you too much longer. This question's come up a couple times, and I didn't want to pull it up, but because I don't want you to have to go think about him. But do you know if he's had any problems in prison, Alisa?
In prison, I did know that they did have to move him several times when he was in the jail. They had sorry about the noise.
No, it's okay.
They did have to move him in the jail a few times. So I don't know exactly why, but I can think that I like to think that that's why he had problems there.
Yeah. Because I think about some of my exes, and I'm like, I don't want to think about them. So I didn't want to bring that up, but it has come up a couple times. So anyway. All right. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, here, Mandy Strong, best impact statement. I got to tell you, you brought me to tears. I was like, you are a very incredibly strong individual. And we are so, again, grateful and thankful that you are on this chat right now. And you have, I think, impacted a lot of people beyond just our chat, our little chat. So,
oh, thank you guys. And yeah, hopefully you guys will be able to get my book. I'm going to touch base with Little Miss and get that book published. And so I know with all the true crime junkies out there, they love this kind of stuff. So
we do. Alisa, do you want to say any last words before we let you go?
No, I just really appreciate you guys covering this trial. It has been a pleasure to talk with you guys, give you a little bit of snippets from behind the scenes about it, and just all the love and support that you guys gave me. Just thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And yes, we do hope you come back and visit us soon. We
I'd
have
love
lots.
to give input on any DV cases you need me on, because the ballerina trial one, I watched that one and I was like, no, doesn't sound, something's fishy going on here.
Yeah, we are going to that. That's Ashley, right? The Ashley
Yes.
Benefield. Yeah, that's when we'll be going to her sentencing.
Yeah.
All right, we will let you go. You have a book coming out, and I will connect you and Little Miss. But in the meantime, have a great holiday season, and please come back into our chat anytime.
Thank you. And so great to meet you too, Sam. And thanks,
Nice
Chris.
to meet you,
Okay.
Alisa. I'm glad you
Bye-bye.
did so well.
Bye. So, Sam, do you have any last parting words for our chat? What do you think about this trial? And you were a part of it. What do you think?
Well, I think that, for Alisa, it was probably the best thing to ever happen to her, because, she's got an amazing husband now and is flourishing. Trevor Summers is not my typical defendant. I'm normally getting a lot of gun violence, and I can usually find some redeemable quality, something to like about everyone, even if I know for a fact that they 100% did what they did. I never ask, okay, because I don't want to know the answer and be called as a witness, so I don't ask. But sometimes you see this on video, and still, though, I try to find a good quality about somebody. I can't always find it. I've got several that I don't. But he's got to be one of the worst people I've ever worked on.
Yeah. It came across. I can't imagine actually going to work for him, working against him for sure, but working for him. Yeah.
I took immense pleasure in discrediting every single one of his little theories. Go find this, go do this, go do that. Absolutely. And here's the result. And you are 100% wrong. And I'm happy to tell you that you're wrong. I think that he should have taken a plea, but his ego was never going to allow that to happen. Yeah. And in the end, he has been shamed and then some, but
he's where he's where he deserves to be, for sure. I think, and it's not surprising because, just because the jury was all men, I don't think
that was interesting. I didn't know that until today.
Yeah, because the judge kept saying gentlemen of the jury, or he'd say ladies and gentlemen. He kept catching himself. And I think maybe Jennifer said it once or twice too, but that's how we discovered that it was all men. Was that the judge said a couple of times, ladies and gentlemen, nope, gentlemen of the jury, so, all right. I think that's about it then. Do you have any parting thoughts? Are you going to be live tomorrow? Chat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, chat. Florida PICM has her own channel. And do you want to talk about that?
So I'm going to do my usual little Saturday night date live stream. It's going to be a little more structured. Jenny Reisinger is going to basically interview me because nice. The way that I made it onto YouTube in the first place was that somebody interviewed me about my job, but it was because I reached out and said, hey, I worked on this case, and can I explain the inner workings of the JAC to you? And I realized from interacting with your chat, some of whom have subscribed to my channel, and thank you so much, that they don't know what it is I do and how it comes to be that I am on any of these cases, or what my background is, or why I know anything, or why you should trust anything I say about it.
Just blindly tell us the truth. we trust you. We believe you. Crazy lady over there.
I'm working with I'm working with Jenny, who has been amazing, devoting her time to doing a lot of background research for me for different cases that are in the YouTube world that I'm sure you will stream. I'm looking for different ways that I can talk about pieces of it in a different manner. So my goal is that by the first of the year, you will not just have me sitting and saying hi on a Saturday night just to say hi. Like I will actually be bringing you useful, hopefully, information. And if anybody has questions that they would love to have answered, I have a post up on my channel that says, if you have questions, then write them here. And Leah's been super supportive too. I love Leah. She's been fantastic. She's helped me with some of my design choices, and I'm sure Henry will make an appearance too. And I can't believe he's not here now.
I know, it's quiet.
Right?
Surprisingly, yeah.
I even put his food out and everything, and I thought, oh God, he's just going to come bombard me.
Oh wait, he's climbing on the blinds behind you.
Usually when you can see them and they're all wacky, it's because he runs between the sliders and the blinds, and it just looks like a crazy person lives here.
Meanwhile, I have all our kitties are around. Here comes Rafa, our little ginger. He's
Yours are. It's so nice that yours are so loving.
You're just going to see a tail. There's his
Henry
tail.
just wants to kill me.
Oh, and there's Polly over there. All right, so before I let you go, what time on Saturday?
I think I'm going to do set like 7:15.
Okay. All right.
7:15, 7:30, something like that.
Okay.
Again, I just sort of chose that time because Leah had said, hey, you know, there's not a whole lot going on Saturday nights. And then, of course, yesterday we figured out that people have lives, so maybe they're outliving them on Saturday nights. But in terms of when YouTube is really super active for the true crime world, I guess Saturday night is not a big deal. So for now, it's just a placeholder and, you know, a way for me to keep in touch, because I have actually wanted to do this for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I drew up my initial plan 5 years ago and didn't do anything with it. And I'm intentionally not editing. Like I did one of my middle of the night ones the other night, you know, where I just got out of bed and came in and filmed something and then pushed upload. Right. I'm intentionally leaving it messy because I want to encourage other people that it doesn't have to be perfect, that you don't have to be perfect, that you know, you can get out there and do something. And even if 1 or 2 people hears it and, you know, learn something, then that's worthwhile.
I agree. And Chad, I just put it up on screen, plus it's in the comments. Just go to YouTube and Florida PI Sam. It sometimes looks like PL, but it's PI Sam, Florida PI Sam.
I'm a private investigator. That's what the PI is.
So please give our wonderful friend Sam some love this Saturday at 7:15.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. You have had to really, I don't know how you're doing it. When is your appeal? When do you get to submit your appeal?
They want it by the 6th, so we have to scramble because I'm going to be out of town Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Right, because you're going to the Sensei. I think I can go to Benefield.
Okay.
Because I found a secondary road I can take. Yeah.
Oh, good. And Lil Miss, you had asked a question about who's Benefield. That's Ashley Benefield. Her sentencing is the 3rd, so that's Tuesday. So Jules and I will be at Sarah Boone on Monday. And then Sam, you'll be joining us on Tuesday?
I think I can come on Tuesday, yeah. Okay. I just can't do a drive to Orlando right now.
Totally understood. Yeah. All right. So chat, Jules and I will be at Sarah Boone's sentencing. I believe it's either at 1 or 1:30 on Monday, which is the 2nd. And then we will be driving over to Tampa, and Sam will be joining us for Ashley Benefield's sentencing. And I think that's at 8:30. Does that sound right?
I looked it up. It's in Manatee County. I can't remember what time it was.
Oh, you know what? It's south. It's south of Tampa. I'm sorry. It's at Bradenton. It's Bradenton. Yeah. My bad. Yeah.
It's like an hour for me.
Yeah. Okay. Close enough. Yeah. And Lil Miss, yes. 7:15 p.m. Yes.
Yeah.
Eastern.
Coming on Eastern time. Yeah.
Okay, it's 8:30. Aaron says it's 8:30. Ashley is going to be at 8:30. So that's going to be an early morning. That'll be an early morning for us. But,
I've had to do 8:30 in Seminole County, which I've left here at 5 a.m. and still walked into the courtroom when court was already started.
Okay.
The traffic going through Orlando, in and around Orlando in the morning, or if you're on I-4. You're gonna wish you had a helicopter.
Yeah, I'm sure. Do you think, do you know, what is your estimate of how long Ashley is going to take? Do you think that's going to be,
A sentencing?
yeah, like a couple
I don't
hours? What do you think?
No, I don't see sentencings taking very long. I mean,
Mhm.
it's the victim impact statements, and then the judge can say whatever the judge wants to say, and then the sentence is pronounced, the person is fingerprinted and let out of the room.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I would be surprised if it takes a long time.
Yeah. Well, to us, Trevor's was an hour.
Yeah.
I think Judge Kranick said Sarah's was going to be about an hour.
hmm
Um,
Yeah,
so
I
I'm
expect
thinking,
that it'll be more like trying to, like, there'll be a lot of people there, maybe
Mhm.
that may be something you run into, but I don't think that in terms of the amount of time it's going to take will be very long.
Mhm.
You know?
I agree. All right, awesome. I will let you go, and I'm just going to say goodbye to our chat before I hang up. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much for having me again, and I will see
thank
you
you.
soon.
All
Thank
right. Thank
you.
you, Sam. All right. Bye. We'll see you on Saturday. All right, guys. Leah, so No Names and Green. So we got demonetized by YouTube on Monday. We woke up Monday morning and Julie here says, yep, we were demonetized. It's not a copyright strike. They just say that we're not providing enough unique content. So we're kind of changing up a little bit. And that's why you see me on screen. I'm coming in during breaks and I'm on screen the entire trial. So for the rewatch, it's easy because I can, I can kind of pick and choose when I come on screen. It'll be the same for live trials. Basically, whenever there's a break, I'll come on. Lunch, I'll come on. So we're not going to get away from our core business model, which is clean streams. We still want to give you guys that, where I'm not going to be commentating like over on top, but I will be in the corner, and we have until the 6th of December to appeal it. So we need to put together a video to do that. And it's we're going to be scrambling a little bit because I'm going to be out, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. But then, so watch for us. Let's see, today's Friday, so we're going to be off Saturday and Sunday. Monday, Jules and I will be streaming from Sarah Boone. Look at Rafa. I think he wants to go out. And then Tuesday, we will be streaming from Ashley Benefield. And then Wednesday, Jules and maybe hopefully Sam will be on. We'll do a recap of what we just went through Monday and Tuesday. So that's going to be that. And then, guys, don't forget, we are going to be covering that Jamie Lee, I forget her last name. Let me get her name right. She's the woman who ran into the couple that just got married. That starts next week, too. Komorowski. So that's our next trial. A lot of people are asking, what's our next trial? So we got Sarah Boone on Monday, sentencing, Ashley Benefield, Tuesday, sentencing, and then Jamie Lee Komorowski is going to start next week as well. So that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you so much, everybody. We love you so much. You guys are the best. Our chat's the best. When Alisa came into our chat today, you guys just showered her with love, and we really, really appreciate that because, that's what we strive to do. We want to be kind to each other. We want to respect each other, be courteous. You guys can have different opinions, but just continue to be kind to each other, continue to be courteous to each other. I want to thank Erin, who is behind the scenes. She does so much. You guys have no idea what Erin does. I would have been flopping around because StreamYard wasn't working for us this afternoon. So we went over to OBS, and now we're back to StreamYard. Erin took care of all that. So huge shout out to Erin. She really does so much that you guys have no idea. Our mods, OnlyFan, Julie, Therapist Jules, Brat, Unbalanced Equation. We haven't seen him today, but we know he's out there. Dr. Rachel, she's another one of our mods. You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much. And chat, yes, Erin is an amazing and lovely person too. She really is. We are, if you want, we set up Patreon. Erin did all that. So if you want to go support us while we figure out YouTube, you can support us there. It's the same membership level as on YouTube. So we would appreciate that. We also have a Venmo and Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. If you guys like what you see and you want to support us financially, we would really appreciate that too. That's up to you. No pressure there. And thank you, Widespread Panic. After demonetization, I began supporting TTL on Patreon. Yeah, thanks, guys. We see it. We see all that goes on, and we appreciate you so much. So I will leave you with be kind to each other, love each other. Thanksgiving was here in the States for us. Hopefully you guys all had a great one, and we will see you. Have a great weekend. We will see you on Monday for Sarah Boone. All right, guys. Love you so much. We'll see you later. Bye.